Hi, everyone. I'm Rena Ninan. Thank you for joining us. CBS News has confirmed the White House asked former White House counsel Don McGahn to publicly state President Trump did not obstruct justice. That's according to multiple reports. The White House asked McGahn twice in the past month after the release of the special counsel Robert Mueller's report. Well, McGahn declined the requests. From the president's attorneys, an attorney for McGahn said that they did not perceive the request as a threat or something sinister. The special counsel's report revealed McGahn told them the president instructed him to fire Mueller. Mr. Trump denies that, saying that he could have done it himself. I want to now bring in Niall Stanage from Washington. He's a White House columnist for The Hill, and he joins me now. So now, do you think, could McGahn continue to cause trouble for the president here?
He could, certainly. And in fact, this whole effort to get him to issue this kind of statement really shows what a touchy subject this is for the White House, Rena. Far from the kind of blanket affirmations of exoneration that were first issued when the Mueller report came out, Don McGahn's testimony points in a rather different direction, his testimony to Robert Mueller. And I think we see that not just in the Mueller report, but in this reaction to it from the White House.
I want to move on and talk about the ongoing subpoena battle. We know that House Ways and Means Chairman Richard Neal is giving Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, as well as the IRS, 1 week. They've got 1 week to hand over the last 6 years of President Trump's tax returns. Do you think the White House will continue to defy the subpoena?
Yes, is the short answer. I think this is a battle where neither side has real incentive to step down or to retreat. The White House is clearly seeking to paint not just this subpoena, but the whole use of subpoena power as a partisan move. Democrats, for their part, have obviously a very different view, seeing this as an important element of oversight, but also, frankly, seeing it as something that their base demands, their base demanding aggressive pursuit of the president's tax records. And we see that in the words of progressive lawmakers like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, for example, who has been supporting this push.
And in addition to the subpoena talk, we know the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee has subpoenaed the president's son, Donald Trump Jr. This morning, it's hard to ignore the dozens of retweets on his account saying it's case closed. Do we have a sense of what the senators might be questioning and looking into?
Well, it would appear that they're looking into Don Jr.'s testimony or his explanation of the now infamous meeting in June 2016 at Trump Tower, where a Russian lawyer met with Don Jr. and other members of the Trump family and Trump campaign. That has always been a massively contentious meeting, so that is apparently what they're looking at. Of course, the substance is one thing, the politics is often another, and there are many Republican senators very unhappy with the Republican head of that committee, Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina. Yeah. They don't feel he should have subpoenaed Don Jr.
Niall, tell me a little bit more about him. We know he chairs the Senate Intelligence Committee. He really is a reliable conservative vote. He's retiring in 2020. We know he's not likely going to seek, 2022. He's likely not going to seek another term. But why do you think it is? Can you explain sort of why he would call for a subpoena?
He appears to be fairly independent-minded, though ideologically conservative. He doesn't appear to have buckled in quite the same way to the demands and pressures of the president and his allies when it comes to this matter. The fact that you mentioned, Rena, that he is not seeking re-election obviously is important. We have previously seen Republican lawmakers in both the House and the Senate being very reluctant to spark the ire of Trump supporters for fear of getting a primary challenge. That danger doesn't apply to Senator Burr.
I've got to also ask you about the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. In an interview with the New York Times, he said that he was going to travel to Ukraine and ask its government to sort of pursue investigations that he believes could help the president. These are looking into Joe Biden, and it includes Russian election meddling and Joe Biden's son's efforts with Ukrainian gas company. But then he had an interview with Fox News on Friday with Shannon Bream, and Giuliani had this to say about changing his mind on that.
So I've decided, Sharon, I'm not going to go to the Ukraine.
You're not going to go?
I'm not going to go because I think I'm walking into a group of people that are enemies of the president, in some cases enemies of the United States.
So there he is with Shannon. What do you think caused Giuliani to suddenly change his mind?
I would imagine the uproar around this trip. I'm smiling because it's such a surreal kind of situation.
I mean, she looked shocked too, Niall, in that video.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we have the lawyer for a president of the United States who has faced inquiries throughout his tenure about foreign interference, proposing to go to Ukraine to essentially seek foreign interference. That's why it's so bizarre. And obviously he has climbed down, I would assume, as a consequence of the uproar that suggestion sparked.
You know, the president also said that it is completely appropriate for him to ask Attorney General William Barr to launch an investigation into Biden. You know, is this a potential 2020 strategy? Does Biden have something legitimate to fear? And does the president have grounds to do this?
The second part of the question is highly debatable. One of the issues that has bedeviled the Trump presidency has been what is appropriate use of political power when it comes to law enforcement, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, and so on. Whether Joe Biden has something to fear is a different question. I mean, his son was certainly paid quite lavishly by a Ukrainian energy company. The Bidens deny any wrongdoing or any shady business there, but overall it's not something that you would particularly welcome an inquiry into if you were running for President of the United States.
I want to ask you and end with some more 2020. You've actually got some reporting on a potential alliance between Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. What can you tell us, Niall?
So the Congresswoman and the Senator have come together for a measure that is intended to curb predatory lending and limit credit card interest rates. It also calls for some basic banking facilities to be supplied by post offices. But the politics of this are very interesting because former Vice President Biden, who we just spoke about, has been criticised in Liberal circles for closeness to the credit card industry. He was, of course, a senator representing Delaware, which is a hub of that industry for many years. So I think there is politics at work here, though, of course, the proposal itself goes to very important day-to-day issues in people's lives.
And do you think this is a strategy that can potentially backfire for Sanders?
I don't know if it can in a Democratic primary. I mean, AOC, as she's popularly known, is vastly popular with the Democratic grassroots. I understand she's a more divisive figure generally. But in a Democratic primary, I don't really see there being any significant downside to having her publicly identified with your candidacy, even though, of course, she has not made an official endorsement.
That's absolutely true. Niall Stanage, grateful you could join us this weekend, Niall.
Thanks, Rena.
Thank you.